After a year of marriage, my wife still wouldn't let me near her phone. I tried to ignore it first, but when I finally asked her why, her answer stopped me cold. Real men don't need passwords. That night, while she was asleep, I looked through her phone. I didn't yell. I didn't wake her up. I found a hidden folder full of photos of her with her ex quietly. I packed a bag, left the wedding album open on the kitchen table, and walked out. She's been calling nonstop ever since. First, I just want to say thanks for being here. Sharing these stories means a lot, and your support keeps them going. Only about 8% of people watching are subscribed. If you enjoy this, just one click can make a huge difference. Looking back, the signs were there from the beginning. I met Olivia 2 years ago at my cousin's wedding. She was magnetic, lively, fun, and always glued to her phone. I thought it was just a generational thing. I'm 44, she's 36. Not a huge difference, but enough to make our relationships with technology a little different. During our time dating, I didn't think much of her phone habits. She'd angle the screen away while texting, change her passcode frequently, and always kept her phone silent and face down. I chalked it up to modern boundaries. I respected her privacy, never once asked to see her phone or questioned who she was texting. When we got married last year, I thought things would naturally become more transparent. Instead, they got worse. She never let her phone out of sight. She brought it into the bathroom when she showered. She slept with it right next to her on the nightstand, screen down, always. Once I tried to move it while cleaning, and she appeared instantly to take it back, offering no explanation. Still, I kept my peace. I believed in trust. I didn't want to be the controlling husband. I gave her space. But then the secrecy began spilling into other parts of our life. About 6 months into the marriage, I asked her for the login to our joint bank account, an account she had set up herself. She immediately got defensive. "Why do you need it?" she snapped. I told her I just wanted to check our balance before making a big home purchase. She looked it up, read the balance out loud, and refused to give me the login. Later, we needed to access our shared cloud storage for tax documents. Again, she insisted on handling it herself, never gave me the credentials. Despite all that, I kept calm. I'm a structural engineer. I deal with logic, data, and evidence. I started keeping track of these incidents. Dates, times, details. I didn't want to accuse her of anything without facts, but the pattern was clear. The tipping point came last week. My brother had been in a terrible car accident. In my rush to get to the hospital, I left my phone behind. Once there, I asked Olivia if I could borrow her phone to call my sister. "Just use the hospital phone," she said, immediately covered her phone with her hand. I told her it was long distance and would only take a minute. She hesitated, quickly swiping and closing apps before handing it to me, then warned me not to go through anything. That moment stuck with me. Later that night, after learning my brother would recover, I finally asked her the question that had been sitting in my chest for months. "Why won't you let me see your phone? Why won't you share passwords, even for accounts we both own?" She didn't look up. "I believe in privacy," she said. "Even from your husband?" I asked. She sighed like I was being unreasonable and said, "God, Marcus, real men don't need passwords. Real men trust their wives." That wasn't just deflection. It was rehearsed. It sounded like something she'd said before. The line was too polished. I didn't argue. I just let those words echo. It wasn't about trust anymore. It was about power, control, deception. I took time to think. Our state has no-fault divorce laws, so proof of cheating wouldn't make a difference legally. But what concerned me more was the financial side. I didn't have access to our accounts. That alone was enough reason to investigate. The next morning, I hired a private investigator. I explained everything, my concerns about infidelity and financial secrecy. It wasn't cheap, but it felt like the only legitimate option. Within a week, the PI returned with results. Olivia had been seeing her ex-boyfriend, Ryan, regularly. He was separated from his wife, but not divorced. They met at hotels during times she claimed to be traveling for work. The PI even got photos of them using my car, which explained the extra mileage I'd noticed. Worse, they were photographed looking over documents in a coffee shop. Some of those papers had my name on them. I called a lawyer. With their help, I took action. First, I went to the bank and requested access to all joint financial accounts. As a co-holder, I had the legal right. Then I reviewed the statements. For 6 months, Olivia had been transferring $2,000 a month to an account I'd never seen. An account in her name only. On my lawyer's advice, I didn't confront her. I gathered evidence, printed statements, and withdrew exactly half of the remaining funds into a new account in my name. I left a clear paper trail with my attorney. I secured all my personal belongings, documents, and set up temporary housing. The day I left, I waited for Olivia to head out to her Pilates class. Then I placed our wedding album on the kitchen table, opened to the page where we exchanged vows. On top of it, I put my house key and a letter from my attorney. The letter explained that I was initiating divorce proceedings due to financial misconduct, with supporting evidence. I left my lawyer's contact info and a note saying any future communication should go through them. By noon, I checked into a hotel across town. That's when the calls started. Olivia blew up my phone, dozens of missed calls, texts asking where I was, why I left, what's going on. Not a single message admitted to anything. By that evening, the tone shifted. She begged me to come home, told me whatever I thought I knew was wrong, said she could explain everything. But I didn't answer. I already had the truth, and I was done pretending not to see it. Following my lawyer's advice, I stayed silent and avoided any communication that could be used against me. The next day, he confirmed that he had officially notified Olivia about the divorce, citing financial misconduct and including proof of the money she had funneled away. That's when her messages turned frantic. She accused me of spying, insisted the money transfers weren't what they seemed, and claimed Ryan was merely helping her with investments. She told me I was overreacting and had violated her privacy. Her final message struck a nerve. You'll never find anyone like me. On that point, at least she was right. By the third day, Olivia had rallied back up. I saw missed calls from her parents, her sister, and even my own mother. I spoke briefly with my mother and explained everything, sharing the evidence. She was shocked, but quickly understood why I had walked away. That same afternoon, Olivia tried to come to my office. My assistant, who knew what was going on, refused to let her in. The situation escalated until security had to remove her. My coworkers saw everything. Olivia yelling that I was being irrational and destroying our marriage over nothing. That night, I sent one text. From now on, all communication would go through our attorneys. She responded immediately, claiming Ryan was going through a divorce and she was just helping him out with a loan. It was such a blatant lie, I almost laughed. I didn't reply. On the 5th day, a massive flower arrangement arrived at my office, along with a card begging for a second chance. I had the flowers sent to a local nursing home. By the 7th day, her father called offering to mediate. I politely declined, telling him the evidence spoke for itself. Olivia had made her choice. At this point, I told him, I'm simply protecting myself. Then came the most surprising twist. On the 10th day, Ryan's wife, Angela, contacted me through my lawyer. She had uncovered the affair from her side and wanted to share information. We met at my attorney's office to keep everything official and documented. 2 strangers connected by betrayal, sharing what we'd found. It turned out that Ryan and Olivia had rekindled their relationship 2 years ago, around the time Olivia and I were getting serious. They'd been involved throughout my courtship and marriage. Angela had legal access to Ryan's messages via their shared phone plan and showed me texts where they mocked me. Olivia had written, "Real men don't need passwords," to which Ryan replied with a laughing emoji, their private joke at my expense. It's been 2 weeks. The divorce is progressing. Olivia shifted from pleading to threatening and then to bargaining. Through her lawyer, she offered to return the stolen money if I agreed not to reveal the real reason for our divorce. She was concerned about her image. I refused, not out of bitterness, but because I won't lie to protect someone who spent our marriage lying to me. If she wanted to keep things private, she should have acted privately. Yesterday, my belongings were delivered from the house, handled by a service I hired to avoid seeing her. In one box, she'd slipped in items I hadn't packed, cards I'd written, ticket stubs from concerts, the watch I gave her as a wedding gift. Clearly a manipulative gesture. At the bottom was a handwritten letter. 10 pages of rationalizations, excuses, and pleas for understanding. I read it as my lawyer instructed, then passed it along for documentation. In it, she admitted the affair but downplayed it, blaming me for not being emotionally available. Some people never take responsibility. Even when the truth is laid bare, they turn themselves into victims, even when they're the ones who cause the damage. As for me, I'm living in a furnished apartment while the divorce gets finalized. I refocused on my job, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with, and started reclaiming parts of myself I'd given up during the marriage. I picked up rock climbing again, a hobby Olivia had dismissed as dull. She once said, "Real men don't need passwords." But a real man knows when it's time to walk away. To answer some common questions. Yes, I was legally allowed to take half of our shared household account. We contributed equally to it, and my lawyer ensured everything was done properly. I chose to hire a private investigator rather than confront Olivia directly because I needed facts, not more lies. Giving her a heads up would have just allowed her to cover her tracks. Some have suggested Olivia might accuse me of abandoning the marriage. My lawyer isn't concerned. Given the financial misconduct and the proper notice I provided, her claims wouldn't hold up in court. And no, I don't regret how I uncovered the truth. Privacy matters in marriage, but so does honesty. When one partner is hiding something serious, especially involving joint finances, it becomes a legal issue as well. For those wondering about Angela, we're not dating. We've met twice in professional settings to exchange relevant information. That's all. 1 month later, the emotional chaos has settled a bit. Olivia finally stopped reaching out and is communicating only through her lawyer. Ryan, interestingly, has vanished from her life. During court proceedings, it came out that he reconciled with his wife after the affair came to light. Olivia, meanwhile, is spinning a new narrative, claiming I was controlling and invasive. But people aren't buying it, especially after the financial records were revealed. I've made a new home in my apartment. It feels more genuine than our house ever did. There's freedom in letting go of something that was built on lies. I've started hiking again and spending time with old friends. The most important lesson I've learned? Always trust your instincts. If something feels wrong over and over again, it probably is. Real relationships don't need manipulation, secrets, or catchphrases about trust. 6 months later, it's finally over. The divorce was finalized last week. Olivia was ordered to repay the misappropriated money with interest. Our remaining assets were split as per state law. I've since heard that she and Ryan briefly tried to reconnect after his wife left him, but it didn't last. He moved on to someone else. Maybe it's karma. I bought a cabin by a lake. Something I'd always wanted, though Olivia had dismissed it as too rustic. Now I divide my time between that peaceful retreat and my apartment in the city. Work is going well. I was promoted to senior project manager last month. I've started dating again, carefully. The woman I'm seeing is a wildlife photographer I met while hiking. On our 3rd date, she handed me her phone to show me her pictures. When I mentioned her lack of a lock screen, she simply said, "I don't have anything to hide." That small gesture hit me harder than expected. After everything with Olivia, honesty feels like a luxury. Not because I want access to her phone, but because that openness says everything. No secrets, no games. Sometimes what you gain from a broken relationship isn't just closure. It's the clarity to recognize something real when it finally comes along.